The ocean floor is already silent. Miles of black water press down on it. No sunlight reaches it. No human city stands there. No voice carries there. And yet, in 3 ancient books connected to the world of Genesis, the deep is not empty. It is sealed. Most people hear the story of the flood as a story about water rising over a violent earth. The rain falls. The fountains break open. The ark rises. The wicked world disappears. But Enoch, Jubilees, and Jasher preserve a darker pattern. The water is not the first judgment. The deep is not just geography. And what God seals beneath the earth is not simply debris from a destroyed world. Enoch gives the cause. Jubilees gives the depth. Jasher shows what the corruption looked like among human beings. Placed together, they suggest the flood was not only destruction, it was containment. Before the ocean covered the mountains, the boundary between heaven and earth had already been broken. Enoch says the Watchers descended, took women, produced giants, and released forbidden knowledge into the world. The problem was not merely that humans became violent. The problem was that violence had been taught, multiplied, and empowered by beings who were never permitted to rule the earth in that way. That is why the punishment in Enoch does not begin with rain. It begins underground. In 1 Enoch 10, God commands Raphael to bind Azazel hand and foot, cast him into darkness, make an opening in Dudael, throw him inside, cover him with rough stones, and keep him from seeing light. This is not the image of a defeated enemy simply killed. It is the image of a being sealed away, hidden, covered, waiting. Then Enoch widens the judgment. The Watchers who join themselves to human women are bound in the valleys of the earth until the day of judgment. Their sons destroy one another. Their fathers are forced to witness the collapse of what they created. Then the rebels themselves are held in prison until the appointed time. That detail changes the flood, because if the Watchers are already bound before the waters rise, then the flood is not the first act of judgment. It is the second. The first judgment seals the source. The second washes the surface. And that is where Jubilees becomes important. Jubilees 5 repeats the basic pattern, but with one phrase that matters. The rebellious angels are bound in the depths of the earth. Their children are destroyed, and after that, the fathers are bound in the depths until the great day of condemnation. Now the story has a vertical structure. Above, the heavens, where the Watchers belonged. Middle, the earth, where they trespassed. Below, the depths, where they are confined. The judgment matches the crime. They left their proper place, so God removes their place. They crossed a boundary, so God places them behind one. Then Jubilees gives another detail. When the flood begins, it is not only the sky that opens. Jubilees says the floodgates of heaven open, but also the mouths of the fountains of the great deep. 7 mouths of the deep pour upward until the whole world is filled with water. This is where the ocean floor image becomes powerful. Modern oceanography describes trenches, vents, abyssal plains, fractures, and subduction zones. NOAA records the average ocean depth at more than 12,000 feet, with Challenger Deep reaching nearly 36,000 feet below sea level. The Mariana Trench itself is formed where one plate plunges beneath another into the mantle. That does not prove Enoch. It does not turn a trench into a visible prison. But it helps modern viewers imagine why ancient writers used the language of the deep with such force. To the ancient imagination, the deep was not just water. It was the hidden underside of creation. It was the place below sight, below travel, below ordinary life, a place where the surface of the world ended and the unseen order began. Enoch sees this hidden order repeatedly. In chapter 18, he sees a place beyond a deep abyss, a waste and horrible region where stars like burning mountains are bound because they transgressed the command of the Lord. The imagery is cosmic, not modern geology, but the pattern is the same. Rebellion above is answered by imprisonment below. So what is beneath the ocean floor? In modern terms, rock, sediment, crust, heat, vents, trenches, and the movements of plates. But in the symbolic world of Enoch and Jubilees, beneath the deep is a prison. Not a prison built for humans, a prison built for beings who violated heaven's order, and Jasher shows why that prison mattered on earth. Jasher does not give the same cosmic map as Enoch. It does not describe Azazel's burial in Dudael. It does not give the same angelic courtroom. Instead, Jasher brings the camera down into the human world. It shows the earth becoming violent. Men rob and plunder one another. They rebel against God. They make gods for themselves. Rulers take women by force. The world becomes filled with violence. Even the created order is described as corrupted, with humans teaching the mixing of animals in ways that provoke judgment. That is the human face of the Watcher crisis. Enoch explains where the corruption began. Jubilees explains where the rebels were sealed. Jasher shows what the corruption looked like when it entered society. It became theft, idolatry, sexual violence, political abuse, contempt for warning. A world where power no longer had a boundary. And that is the deeper reason God seals the source beneath the earth. Because the problem is not only that sin happened. The problem is that the created order was being rewritten. The Watchers crossed from heaven into flesh. Their children crossed the boundary between human and monstrous. Their knowledge crossed from hidden realms into violent human hands. Then human society crossed from ordinary wickedness into total corruption. Everything moved out of place. So judgment moved everything back into place. The Watchers go down. The giants fall. The waters rise. Noah is sealed inside the ark. The deep opens. The world above is washed. The rebels below are confined. Jasher's flood scene makes this terrifyingly concrete. After Methuselah dies, Noah enters the ark. The earth shakes. The sun darkens. The foundations of the world rage. The fountains in the earth break open. The people do not repent. Then the waters come, and a multitude gathers around the ark, begging Noah to open it. This is not a calm rainstorm. It is a world coming apart from above and below. The sky opens. The earth breaks. The deep answers. And the ark becomes the only sealed place of mercy in a world where another sealed place already exists beneath the earth. That is the mirror image in the story. Noah is sealed in to preserve life. The Watchers are sealed in to prevent further corruption. One seal protects the righteous. The other restrains the rebels. The flood stands between them. But the story does not end when the waters recede. This is the part most people miss. In Genesis, the familiar story moves toward the rainbow, the covenant, and the repopulation of the earth. But Jubilees continues the problem after the flood. In Jubilees 10, Noah's descendants are troubled by evil spirits. Noah prays because these spirits are leading his descendants astray and destroying them. Then Mastema asks that some of the spirits remain under his authority, and Jubilees says 1/10 are left, while 9 parts descend into the place of condemnation. That means the flood did not remove every consequence of the Watcher rebellion. It removed the bodies. It did not erase all influence. Enoch had already prepared the viewer for this. In 1 Enoch 15, the spirits of the giants, born from flesh and from the Watchers, become evil spirits on earth. They afflict, oppress, destroy, and cause trouble. Their bodies perish, but their spirits remain active in the human world. Now the pattern is complete. The Watchers are sealed below. The giants are destroyed, but the spirits connected to that corruption continue above. So the deep is not merely a grave, it is a containment system. It holds the original rebels until judgment, while the post-flood world still struggles with what came from them. This is why the phrase, beneath the ocean floor, works as a modern doorway into the ancient idea. The texts are not saying that a submarine can descend into the Mariana Trench and photograph Azazel under a stone. They are saying something stranger within their own cosmology. They are saying that creation has locked rooms. There are places God opens, and there are places God shuts. The ark is shut from the outside. The abyss is shut until judgment. The fountains of the deep open when the world is judged. Then they close when judgment is restrained. The deep obeys God. The rebels do not. That contrast is the hidden structure of the story. The waters obey. The earth obeys. The depths obey. The winds obey. The animals come to Noah. Even the ark rests where God appoints. But the Watchers, who had intelligence and glory, refuse the order assigned to them. So God gives the inhuman creation more obedience than the heavenly rebels. That is why the prison is below. Not because God is hiding a secret from humanity, but because the beings who tried to rise beyond their boundary are cast beneath all boundaries. They wanted human women. They are denied human society. They wanted influence over the earth. They are placed inside the earth. They wanted to see the world they corrupted. Azazel's face is covered, so he cannot see light. This is not just punishment, it is reversal. And once you see that reversal, the flood changes shape. The flood is not only water sent downward from heaven, it is also water released upward from the deep. Judgment comes from both directions because corruption has infected both the surface and the hidden places beneath it. The world is squeezed between heaven and abyss. And Noah survives because he is placed in the one vessel God seals for life. Jasher intensifies this by showing the emotional terror of the moment. People gather at the ark too late. Noah reminds them that they had been warned for 120 years. They try to break in. The beasts surrounding the ark drive them away. Inside, even the animals are terrified as the vessel is tossed on the waters. Noah prays because he fears they have reached the gates of death. That scene matters because it prevents the story from becoming abstract. The deep is not a symbol floating in the air. It breaks into human history. It shakes the ground. It terrifies the living. It separates the warned from the unrepentant. And it turns the world itself into a courtroom. Above them, rain. Below them, fountains. Around them, rising judgment. Beneath them, the sealed rebels whose corruption helped bring the world to this point. That is the hidden horror of the ocean floor idea. The surface looks calm after the flood. The waters recede. Mountains appear. Noah leaves the ark. The world begins again. But according to these texts, the story beneath the world is not finished. The prison remains. The judgment waits. The spirits continue. And humanity steps into a post-flood world that is cleaner but not untouched. That is why Jubilees places Noah's prayer after the flood. The danger has changed form. It is no longer giants walking openly across the earth. It is invisible spirits misleading Noah's descendants. It is corruption without the old bodies. It is the same rebellion moving in a reduced, restrained, but still dangerous form. So when the title asks, what is beneath the ocean floor, the answer depends on which language we are speaking. In science, there are trenches, crustal plates, vents, molten heat, and pressure. In Enoch and Jubilees, there is a prison. In Jasher, there is the memory of a world so corrupted that the deep itself had to open against it. And when all three are placed together, the deeper answer is this. Beneath the floor of the world is the consequence of a boundary broken from above. God sealed it there because evil had become more than human behavior. It had become an invasion of order. These texts were composed and transmitted in different ways, and their overlap does not prove that they preserve a single literal map of the ocean floor. Jasher especially should be handled carefully, since scholarship commonly treats Sefer HaYashar as a medieval midrash, rather than the lost biblical Book of Jasher. But as an ancient interpretive pattern, the convergence is powerful. Enoch gives the rebels, Jubilees gives the depths, Jasher gives the world they helped ruin. And together, they transform the flood from a story about rain into a story about containment. The ocean is not only water, the deep is not only depth. The floor beneath it is not only stone. In these books, the deep is the locked underside of judgment, the place where rebellion is held until God opens what no creature can open and closes what no rebel can escape. Noah floated above it. The world forgot it. But according to Enoch, Jubilees, and Jasher, the silence beneath the waters was never empty. It was sealed.